I want to ask you something. Do you ever look at someone else and feel bad about yourself? Maybe you look at a classmate, a friend, someone on social media, and their English sounds so confident, their life looks so together, their progress seems so fast. And then you look at yourself and you feel small. You think, why am I not there yet? Why is it so easy for them and so hard for me? Maybe I am just not good enough. Maybe I am too slow. Maybe I will never get to where they are. This feeling has a name: comparison. And comparison is one of the most dangerous things for a person who is trying to grow. Not because looking at others is wrong, but because when we compare, we almost always compare unfairly. We see their result, we do not see their journey. We see where they are now. We do not see how long it took. We see their confidence. We do not see their hard days, their doubts, their slow weeks, their moments of wanting to give up. We compare our inside to their outside, and that comparison is never fair, and it always makes us feel worse. Today's story is about a young man named Idris. Idris spent a long time looking at others instead of looking at himself, until one day, he stopped. This is his story. Meet Idris. Idris was 21 years old. He was in his second year at university. He studied business. He was quiet in class, not because he was shy, but because he was always watching, always noticing what others were doing, how they spoke, how they answered questions, how they seemed. He had one close friend in his class named Kamal. Kamal was everything Idris felt he was not. Kamal spoke English confidently. He raised his hand in class. He answered questions without hesitating. His pronunciation was smooth and natural. When the professor asked something difficult, Kamal usually had an answer. Idris watched Kamal every day. At first, it was just noticing. Then it became comparing. Then, slowly, without Idris realizing, it became something heavier. Every time Kamal spoke well in class, Idris felt smaller. Every time a professor praised Kamal's English, Idris thought, I will never be at that level. He started avoiding situations where his English might be tested. He stopped raising his hand. He sat at the back of the room. He chose written assignments over oral presentations whenever he could. His English was not bad. Actually, it was okay. Intermediate level. Growing slowly. But in his own mind, it felt terrible, because he was always measuring it against Kamal's English. And against Kamal's English, his always fell short. One afternoon, something happened that changed everything. The walk home. Idris and Kamal sometimes walked home in the same direction after class. One afternoon, they walked together. Idris was quiet. He was thinking about a class discussion that had happened that day. Kamal had spoken confidently for 2 minutes about a business topic. The professor had nodded and said, "Good points." Idris had said nothing. After a few minutes of walking, Kamal said something unexpected. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure," said Idris. "Why don't you speak in class? I have noticed you almost never raise your hand, but sometimes after class when we talk, you say things that are really interesting, smart things, things I had not thought of." Idris was quiet for a moment. "My English is not good enough," he said. Kamal stopped walking. He turned and looked at Idris. "What do you mean?" he said. "I mean," Idris gestured vaguely, "you speak so well. It sounds natural. Mine sounds slow and wrong." Kamal was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that Idris did not expect. "I spent 3 years in a different country when I was younger," he said. "I went to school there. I spoke English every day for 3 years. When I came back, I already had the fluency. I did not build it here. I brought it with me." Idris stared at him. "You did not know that," said Kamal. "You were comparing your English to mine without knowing my story." Lesson 1. You do not know anyone's story. That evening, Idris sat in his room and thought about what Kamal had said. 3 years in another country. 3 years of speaking English every day as a child, when the brain learns language most easily. 3 years of immersion that Idris had never had. He had been comparing himself to someone with a completely different starting point, a completely different path, a completely different set of circumstances. and he had been losing that comparison every day and using it as evidence that he was not good enough. But it was not evidence of anything. It was just a false comparison. This is what comparison does. It takes two completely different people with completely different journeys and different starting points and different circumstances, and it puts them next to each other as if they are the same, as if the only difference between them is talent or effort or worth. But that is almost never true. The person whose English sounds fluent, maybe they grew up in a bilingual home, maybe they studied abroad, maybe they had a parent who spoke English, maybe they have been learning for 10 years, not two. You do not know their story. You only see the result. And comparing your result to theirs without knowing their story is like comparing your page 1 to their chapter 20. It is not fair, and it is not useful. The only comparison that is ever useful is comparing yourself today to yourself yesterday. Daily English sentences. Repeat after me. I do not know anyone's full story. I only see their result. Comparing my beginning to someone else's middle is never fair. The only useful comparison is me today versus me yesterday. I stop measuring myself against others and start measuring my own growth. Everyone has a different starting point. Mine is mine. I focus on my path, not on someone else's. My progress is real, even when it looks small next to others. Lesson 2. His own starting point. The next morning, Idris opened a new page in his notebook. At the top, he wrote, "My starting point." He thought about his English honestly, not compared to Kamal, not compared to anyone else. Just where was he really? He could understand most English when people spoke clearly. He could read English articles without too much difficulty. He could write simple, correct emails. His speaking was slow and sometimes uncertain, but it was real and understandable. He wrote all of this down. Then he wrote, "Where do I want to be in 6 months?" He thought about it. He wrote, "I want to speak in class without feeling afraid. I want my sentences to come out more smoothly. I want to feel confident enough to answer a question in English without preparing for 2 minutes first." He looked at what he had written, his starting point, his goal, his path. Nothing about Kamal, nothing about anyone else in his class, just him, where he was, where he wanted to go. He felt something he had not felt in a long time when thinking about his English. Calm, not excited, not suddenly confident, just calm, like he had put down a heavy bag he had been carrying for months. The bag had been comparison, and he had just put it down. Daily English sentences. Repeat after me. I write down my own starting point honestly. I set my own goals, not goals based on others. I focus on where I am and where I want to go. My path is mine. Nobody else's path is relevant. I feel calm when I look at my own progress honestly. I put down the heavy bag of comparison. My story is different from everyone else's. That is okay. Lesson 3. Looking at his own progress. 3 months after the walk home with Kamal, Idris looked back at his notebook. He found the page he had written that morning. His starting point. His goals. He read it carefully. Then he thought about where he was now. 3 months of studying English every morning, 20 minutes before university, 3 months of pushing himself to speak a little more, in small situations first, asking a question in the library, answering a simple question in a small tutorial group, saying something in class once, then twice, then a few more times. He was not Kamal. He would probably never sound like Kamal, not because he was less capable, but because his journey was different. He had not spent 3 years abroad. He was building his fluency here, now, from a different starting point. But was he better than he had been 3 months ago? Yes. Clearly, yes. His sentences came out more smoothly. The hesitation was smaller. The fear of speaking was quieter. Not gone, but quieter. He wrote in his notebook, 3 months ago, afraid to say one sentence in class. This week, answered 2 questions. Not perfectly, but I answered. He read it back. That was his real progress, not compared to Kamal, not compared to anyone. Just him 3 months ago and him today. And the difference was real. Daily English sentences. Repeat after me. I look at my own progress, not at others. 3 months ago, I was afraid. Today, I answered two questions. My progress is real, even when it is not dramatic. I am better than I was. That is all that matters. I write down where I was and where I am now. Seeing my own growth gives me energy to continue. My journey is slow and real and completely mine. Lesson 4. What he said to Kamal. One afternoon, 6 months after the walk home, Idris and Kamal were sitting together between classes. A new student had joined their class that semester. His English was very strong, even stronger than Kamal's. He spoke quickly and confidently and used vocabulary that made some students feel small. Idris watched the new student for a moment. Then he noticed something. He did not feel the old heavy feeling. He felt nothing, just mild interest, mild curiosity about the new student's story. Where had he learned? What had his journey been? But not the comparison, not the smallness, not the this is evidence that I am not good enough. He mentioned this to Kamal. Kamal listened. Then he said, "What changed?" Idris thought about it. "I stopped looking sideways," he said. "I started looking forward at my own path, my own progress, my own next step." He paused. I used to spend so much energy looking at where other people were. That energy was completely wasted. It made me feel bad, and it did not help me improve at all. He looked at Kamal. But when I put all that energy into my own learning, things started moving. Kamal nodded slowly. "That is a hard thing to learn," he said. "Yes," said Idris, "but it made everything simpler. When the only person I am competing with is myself from yesterday, I always know exactly what to do next." Daily English sentences. Repeat after me. I stop looking sideways and start looking forward. The energy I used for comparison, I now use for growth. I compete only with myself from yesterday. Looking at my own path makes everything simpler. I know exactly what to do next when I focus on myself. Comparison wastes energy. My own progress uses it well. I look forward, not sideways. Final words. Your race, your lane. Idris's story is simple. He spent months looking at Kamal, feeling small, feeling behind, feeling like his English would never be good enough, until one afternoon walk showed him the truth. He did not know Kamal's story. He was comparing his chapter 1 to Kamal's chapter 15. And that comparison was stealing his confidence and his energy and his progress every single day. When he stopped, when he turned his eyes from Kamal's path to his own, everything changed. Not overnight, not dramatically, but really. His English grew, his confidence grew, and his mornings became lighter because he was no longer carrying the weight of everyone else's progress on his own shoulders. Maybe you are listening now and you recognize this feeling. Maybe there is someone in your life, a classmate, a friend, someone on social media whose English sounds better than yours, whose progress seems faster, whose confidence seems natural and easy. And every time you see them or hear them, you feel a little smaller. I want to say this to you simply. You do not know their story. Maybe they studied for years before you started. Maybe they grew up speaking English at home. Maybe they had opportunities you did not have. You do not know, and it does not matter because your race is your race. Your lane is your lane. The only question that matters is, am I better today than I was yesterday? If the answer is yes, you are winning. Your race, your way. Focus on your own path. Measure your own growth. Celebrate your own progress, however small it looks to others, because small progress on your own path is worth infinitely more than standing still while watching someone else walk theirs. You are on your path. Nobody else can walk it for you. Nobody else's speed on their path tells you anything about what is possible on yours. Keep walking, eyes forward, one step at a time. See you in the next one. Stay calm, stay in your lane, and never compare yourself to others.